Alright, hi guys. Finally, I'm doing the process video where I show you how I make my comic. The one here is very fast forwarded, it's about times 5,000. And it's a good comic to use because it only took me about 6 hours to ink and color it, which is about 10 hours quicker than normally. As you can see here, I already have the frames and text and speech bubbles set up, which I usually do in Photoshop. And if you're making comics, this is almost crucial because you don't want to end up putting a lot of time into backgrounds or body parts that you're not going to be able to see in the end. For example, I very often sketch the characters from like head to toe, but then I realize that it looks a lot better if I zoom in a bit, and then I have to cut them at the legs. So it's a little bit of a waste of time if I already inked and colored them. Most of my painting I do in Clip Studio Paint, and it got some really good brushes and pen stabilizers especially. And pen stabilizers are something like when you use a tablet or maybe a Cintiq screen, it helps straighten and smoothen the lines, and I love that function. And I've used my Cintiq screen for almost 5 years now, and it's definitely the best investment I ever made. I love using it. Personally, I never learned to properly use vectors, which I definitely should. But in Clip Studio, they have vector layers that are very easy to use. So you draw the lines normally, and they turn into vectors that you can edit, like I'm doing with the eyebrow here. And that's very useful. I also use copy-paste, as you can see, which is useful for some people that might want to use a little bit of copy-paste in their comics, which is pretty much all of us, by the way. Now, once I'm finished inking a character, I always duplicate the ink layer and color on the layer below it, so that I won't be drawing over the lines at any point. And then in the end, when I'm done most of the coloring, I will merge them with still having another copy of the ink layer in case I need it, which, I mean, I often end up with way too many layers, and I do try to name and categorize and put them in maps, but layers aren't fun. I think it's the same for everyone who's using these programs. You don't know the sense of relief every time I get to merge 30 layers. It feels so good. And I always make sure to make lots of different saves. Normally when I'm done with a comic, it has about 20 different save files in case I would need to go back and get some layer that I've ruined somehow. I apologize for my talk being a bit generic and not directly connected to what I'm doing, but you can see in the video I'm kind of doing a lot of the same thing over and over again, adjusting. And you can see how I removed the pupils from Penny, and there I put them back again very sloppily. Normally I try and make pupils on their own layers so that I can move them around. It's very useful because it's so often that where they're looking it isn't quite right, so it's really good to have the layers free so you can just play around. And same with the eyebrows, I try to have on their own layers as well, so you can reshape them and put them at different heights. Very useful when you want to use a little bit of copy-paste. Okay, so I started with the shadowing, and doing that I create a new layer and I add a multiply modifier, and here I picked a sort of dark red tone to make it a little bit like a cozy shadow. And I mean, shadows are tricky. I haven't studied light in any sense. I just kind of try my way. So by the way, I'm very happy when you finish watching this. If you have an art degree, or if you're just good at illustrating, I'm happy to take some tips, because I never really tried to develop much. I've just been drawing because I enjoy it. I never had a talent for drawing. I know this is something that rubs some artists the wrong way, where sure, when people will say I don't have a talent for drawing, and people go well, I didn't either, I practiced. But some people have a better eye than others, and I don't particularly have a good eye, but with practice it comes something that looks like talent. I hope, at least. I've added a temporary background here, which isn't really necessary, but it makes it feel more finished for me, and it's just cozier to look at. And in the end here I'm playing around a bit with the facial expressions and generally getting angry with my previous line work, like why is it still so messy? Why didn't I do it right to begin with? It's I don't know, you learn with every comic. It gets quicker, they look better in the end, so something is going right. And this is something that I learned recently. In life in general, life tip is just like, don't focus on what you were doing wrong, just focus on what did you do right. Like with next comic, why did that one turn out better, you know, like what did I do, and let's try and do that, and it's more fun that way. And same with if I make a mistake, if I have a conversation with someone and it doesn't go well, rather than just like beating myself up after it, I just recognize kind of, okay, what can I do better next time? And as soon as I think that, then like for some reason the frustration goes away. All right, now I'm almost done with the comic, and at this point I still haven't learned that I do need to kind of tell myself like, all right, I'm gonna be done in 2 hours. In 2 hours this needs to be done, because otherwise I will fine adjust forever, and sometimes the fine adjustments, it doesn't even look better than like not a significant difference anyway. So I try to like focus on the major things that needs to be fixed first, and then if I have some time I can do some more editing. Especially like the backgrounds, I can play around with forever, start changing the colors. You don't know how many times I've been quite tired and a little bit cranky and done like a last minute color editing before posting it, and I haven't been happy with it because usually it's been like way too saturated or similar. So I actually enjoy this part of like when I like the comic and I like the way it looks, like doing the finishing touches is really fun for me. But of course, like the most fun part is posting it and reading your comments. I like, because of the like type of comics I make, there's sometimes about relationships and like weird quirks and things that I think might be relatable. It's very interesting to see how people reply. Also, I often have to research things for my comic, so I learn things that way, and sometimes I learn things from people reading my comic and correcting me. Like there's some time I said that like Penny's fat cells were dying, and people were like, well, fat cells actually don't die, they just shrink. And I'm like, well, the more you know. Oh, there we go, finished. Seemed very quick and easy, didn't it? But I swear I was swearing a few times during this. But I also had a lot of fun. And here's my Instagram version of it. Instagram, wink wink, where I accidentally missed a question mark, which does kind of, it's a big miss, but you know, shit happens. I'll try and be more careful next time. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. And if you don't already, like, you know, follow Tardaasa on Facebook and Instagram or tardaasa.com, and maybe if you're feeling rich, give me money on Patreon, because I always need it. I'm very unique that way. Alright, bye guys!